Good day again, and as can be seen from the title of our study, the subject that we'll be looking at today is our thinking and our memory. Now we know that our thinking essentially shapes our action, and our action day by day creates memories. And so our memory, based on what we have done in the past, will oftentimes in the present shape our way of thinking. So it's a cycle, and that's what we'll be looking at today. But before we go any further, we're going to read this thought from the book of Mark, and we're going to say a word of prayer, and then we will continue. Now in the book of Mark chapter 7, reading from verse 14 through to verse 17, it reads as follows. And when he had called all the people unto him, he said unto them, Hearken unto me, every one of you, and understand. There is nothing from without a man that entering into him can defile him. But the things which come out of him, those are they that defile the man. Now let me say, oftentimes people look at the externalities, the dress and what people eat, and people are meticulous to follow these externalities. But here Christ raised a profound point by stating, while those things are in themselves important, what we eat and how we dress and things like that, he said it's nothing in comparison with the things that comes from without. Those are the things that proceed out of our mouth. That's what he was referring to. Verse 16, if any man have ears to hear, let him hear. And when he was entered into the house from the people, his disciples asked him concerning the parable. Now, these sayings that we have read here are extremely powerful, because oftentimes people believe it is works that's going to save them. And Christ made a shift to let the people know what things are coming out of you. Those are the things that are important. And on that note, we're going to say a word of prayer and we will continue. Father in heaven, we pray that the words of our mouth and the meditation of our hearts will be acceptable in thy sight. O Lord, we pray that you'll bless us with your presence today. Through Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. So we're going to start with our thinking. How we think as human beings and how we oftentimes understand life. In the book of Matthew chapter 16, reading from verse 6, verse 7, and then verse 11 through to verse 12, it reads as follows. From verse 6, Then Jesus said unto them, Take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. Now we know leaven refers to a raising agent like yeast or baking powder. So when Christ had told the disciples to be careful or be aware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees, verse 7 states, And they reasoned among themselves, saying, It is because we have taken no bread. So automatically their minds went to physical food, because they perceived that Christ was talking about leaven as in yeast or baking powder, and so their minds automatically went to physical bread. That's their thinking. So when Christ spoke to them in verse 6, their understanding of what he meant, they expressed it among themselves. In verse 7, all of them came to this conclusion. Their thinking, though, was not correct. And so let's say the disciples just went away and walked somewhere. And after they went away, they never got clarity as to what Christ really meant. And someone asked them, what was Jesus talking about in verse 6 when he mentioned leaven? They would have explained to any individual they had gone away and met that he was talking about bread, that they didn't buy enough bread. So they would have gone and given misinformation based on their misunderstanding, because that's what they were thinking. Now, oftentimes, we can hear people say something. Sometimes we can even hear two people in a conversation, and we have our own thinking as to what exactly they're saying and what they mean. But in verse 11, howbeit, Christ stated the following. He said, how is it that ye do not understand that I spake it not to you concerning bread, that ye should beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. Verse 12. Then understood they how that he bade them not beware of the leaven of bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. Now, oftentimes our thinking is wrong based on our own understanding of something someone said. Now, sometimes too, people do not say a word, and we look at them doing something and we're still thinking what their actions mean. We do a lot of times. And as a result of our thinking, we too, based on the way we think, form memories. And if our thoughts are wrong, the memories of whatever we thought are also going to be wrong. So you see the cycle. Right thinking equates to right memories, right behavior, right outcome. And the same is true if it is wrong. Now, in proceeding, we're going to look on a particular video, and this video we're going to play shortly, but I want to explain the video a bit so you could understand the concept once it starts. A group of actors were hired by some researchers, and they were conducting a research. Pretty much it's called the hot and cold effect on the mind. Now, these actors, they went in a park and they just chose random people. When they went in the park, they had, some of them, a cup of hot coffee. So they went up to a stranger and they asked the stranger if they could hold the cup with the hot coffee in it a bit while they use the phone or make a phone call. They were using their phone. So the individuals held the cup with the hot coffee in it and they used their phone. Then they took back the tea or the coffee from the individual, told them thank you, and they walked away. After a while, some different set of individuals approached the persons who were holding the tea or the hot coffee, and they asked them a question. They said they're doing a survey, and if they wouldn't mind answering a question based on just a 3-paragraph story about an individual. And they offered them $20 for their time. So they agreed, and they read the 3-paragraph about an individual, and then they were asked what are their thoughts about this individual that they just read about. Now, what is interesting though, the same surveyors got some actors to go to other people, random people. This time they went with cold drink, cold beverage, cold coffee. It wasn't hot, it was no cold. And they did the same thing, asked them to hold it, and they used their phone, then took back the cold coffee from them, And then the surveyors came and asked them what they thought based on the story. They read. So we had a set of actors that went with hot coffee first, then a set that went to different individuals with cold coffee. This is why it's called a hot and cold effect on the mind. So they did the survey, and then this is the story pretty much.
Yo, this video should terrify you. So not too long ago, these researchers sent actors into a busy park. Then they made them do something very strange. They would walk up to complete strangers, ask them to hold their coffee, check their phone, take the coffee back, and then walk away. Those strangers had no idea that they were part of an experiment. So you see, half of them, they were handed an iced coffee. And the other half, well, they were handed a hot coffee. Now, a few minutes later, somebody walks up with a clipboard and $20 with another weird request. They asked them to read a 3-paragraph story and answer 2 questions, and the $20 was theirs. But yo, here's the part where it gets a little wild. They all read the exact same story. But when the researcher asked them to describe the main character, something insane happened. The people that held the warm coffee thought the character was warm, genuine, and caring. But the people that held the cold coffee, well, they thought the same character, was cold and uncaring. So yo, their entire perspective about the same character changed based on the temperature of the coffee that they were made to hold. And that right there is the scary part. Your moods, your decisions, and your judgments about people are all being shaped by things you might not even notice. Maybe the danger isn't that our minds can be influenced. Maybe it's the fact that we rarely notice when it does happen.
Now, one of the interesting things based on the survey that was done, sometimes people go to a job interview and they're not given the job. It's a possibility that the interviewer might have had some negative effect on the mind prior to them going to the interview. They had a bad day in the morning. They wanted hot coffee, but their coffee maker was not working, and they had to drink some ice cold drink, and as a result it affected their mood, their mind. Sometimes people are going to do something during the course of a day, and they might have a disagreement at home before they leave. It affects their mind. So what they are showing is that things can happen to us without our conscious realization that it affects our mind, our thinking. Simple things. And this survey with the coffee showed that human beings' mind can be altered just even by the sense of temperature, the change between a hot coffee and a cold drink. And so what this is showing us, because of the way our minds work, if we're not guided by principle day by day, we can have distorted thoughts. Now, in progressing, we're going to look at another situation. You had a dad who had a car, and this car he had for a period of time. He considered the car to be an antique, car of value. Now his daughter had reached teenage years, and she had finished high school, and she was about to graduate. So he called his daughter and he said to her, listen, I'm going to give you this car that I've cherished for all these years. You've done well, you've graduated, and you're maturing now pretty much into becoming an adult. So he said to her, I need you to do something for me with this car, and I need to teach you a lesson. He told her, I want you to take this car and number 1, take it to a car dealer and offer him the car for sale. So she took the car to a car dealer, and the car dealer looked at the car, came back and told her all the problems that was wrong with the car, and that he would pay her $4,000 for the car. That's what he was willing to pay for the car. He didn't felt that the car was worth any more than that. So she came back and she told her dad. Her father said to her, I need you to do another favor for me. This is the second thing you're going to do. Take this car to a pawn shop. Just take it to someone that buys things from people who need money real quickly. So she did as her father told her, and when she went, they looked at the car and offered her $1,000 for the car. They said the car was not worth much. Now she came back and she told her dad. Her father said, you're going to do one last thing for me. And he said to her, I want you to take this car to a classical car dealer because this is an antique car. Go to this particular place and offer them the car for sale. So she went, and when she went, she spoke to them and they looked at the car and they told her they're offering her $15,000 for the car. So she came back and she told her father. Now, what was the object lesson? We place value on people just the same. That's what her father was teaching her. She, as a human being, depending on who she associates with, or wherever she go, those she hang out with, or talk to, or associates, will also place a value on her. Those that she is going to enter into a relationship with, those that she is going to work with, talk with, associate with, they're each classes of people are going to assign to her a value based on the way they think. And because of the way we think, shape who we are, daily our thoughts are carried out in action. And our action forms our memories. And our memories will help us to make decisions based on how we made decisions from the past. And so it's as a cycle. Bad thoughts, bad memories, bad action. Good thoughts, good memories, good action. Now we continue. Why is this so? In 1 Samuel chapter 16 and verse 7, but the Lord said unto Samuel, for the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance. This is how he thinks. But the Lord looketh on the heart. Man judgeth based on his own understanding, what he sees, but he can't see inside a person, but he's still willing to judge. And this is how human beings look at life. Bad thinking, bad behavior, bad memories. Good thoughts, good behavior, good memories. In continuing. In the book volume 4 of the symbolic code number 10 over to 12, page 10, inspiration states the following. In their efforts to carry a point, persons who have naturally a strong imagination are in danger of deceiving themselves and deceiving others. They gather up unguarded expressions. So now let's say you're just having, or two persons having a regular conversation. They're not guarded, it's just conversations they're having. And they express themselves from another. Not considering that words may be uttered hastily and hence may not reflect the real sentiments of the speaker. But those unpremeditated remarks, often so trifling as to be unworthy of notice, are viewed through Satan's magnifying glass, pondered and repeated until molehills become mountains. Separated from God, the surmisers of evil become the sport of temptation. They scarcely know the strength of their feelings. Now you see what we had looked at with the coffee, the hot and the cold. These people did not know that they were a part of a survey, and they did not know that the temperature of one or the other cup shaped their feelings. Here inspiration is telling us these individuals that have a tendency to be influenced by Satan, They scarcely know the strength of their feelings or the effect of their words. While condemning the errors of others, they indulge far greater errors themselves. Hence, we as Christians and subjects of his kingdom ought to treat even our worst enemies as God treats us, forgiving one another as he forgives us. Because you know what? We cannot tell what's deep inside any human being. We can't tell their struggles, their problems, the issues that they face, and so we judge. Oftentimes too, when these people have not opened to us. Sometimes here inspiration tells us that people are just having regular unguarded expressions. People listen to their conversations. Sometimes they eavesdrop. They hear something and Satan magnifies the conversation in their mind. You see what he does with their memory? He magnifies the conversation in their mind, and guess what? They see life now through Satan's magnifying glass. And they go about to destroy the person. And they don't even realize the spirit that they're influenced by. So, one of the main things that we need to understand as human beings, especially those who are striving to be saved, to be better people, never let people define who you are or what your worth is. And this is why the father got the daughter to take this car to 3 different places, because each place that she went assigned a different value to this car. And the point that he was making to her, don't let people take you and set their own standard as to who you should be, who you are, and assign a value on you. Don't stay around people like that. And God has repeatedly told his people, leave all judgment to him. But we can't, most people can't do that. They assign value, so some people they esteem high, and the next class of people they put down low. But individuals should never, ever allow themselves to be devalued by any human being, because God has placed a high, infinite value on each person, and he expressed that in the death of his son. We continue. In the book of John chapter 7 verse 24, we read the following: judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. This God is telling his people. If you are a thinking person and you want to move consciously, don't judge according to appearance. Judge righteous judgment. And this is what we'll be looking at today. How do we judge righteous judgment, not according to appearance? And one of the things that happen when people start to criticize others, put them down, talk negative about them, assign a cheap used car dealer value on people, talk bad things behind people's back and in front of them, we degrade people. Sometimes we cause them to have bad thinking and memories about themselves. We continue. People remember negative comments and events for the long term due to the brain's negativity bias, a trait of prioritizing wrongs, which makes bad experiences stick more vividly than good ones, often leading to rumination. People ruminate over things. And anxiety, flashbacks. Flashbacks means they live the past over and over again. And as they live the past over and over again, it's rumination. It's going over and over. And you know what happens next? Stress and depression, just because of something that someone said that's negative, no, or something that was done to the individuals. Though compassion, distance, and sometimes this distance means people have to separate themselves from negative energy, negative people, abusive people. Distance and therapy can help to some extent to manage these negative, traumatic, and bad memories. Sometimes these negative memories just don't go away. Now, one of the things that happen is that sometimes, people say, I will never go back to that church. I will never talk to so and so again. It's the bad memories. And these memories, they relive themselves over and over. Now, we should never let people define who we are and never let people put you down. Don't allow it. Avoid negative and critical people. And some people, their whole life is to be negative. Now, one of the things that happened, let's say this young lady did do bad things. Whatever in life might have happened to her, she might have done bad things or bad things might have happened to her. Now, someone might know about something that happened to her. And in talking to her, they throw it in her face, even as she's trying to grow. And these negative things reliving itself is something that causes depression. And sad to say, Christians, so-called Christians, are known a lot of times to put down other individuals and to bolster themselves. When they know people's business, it's a delight to talk about it. Even after God has forgiven the individuals. And sometimes these negative things, the people don't have anyone to turn to. Because what have happened to them might have been so dark and they have no one to turn to, which they should be able to turn to God's people. We continue. Now, let's look at something similar. In the book of John chapter 1, verse 45 and 46, we're going to read something. Philip findeth Nathanael, and saith unto him, We have found him, of whom Moses in the law and the prophets did write, Jesus of Nazareth. Now this is where Christ came from. Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. And Nathanael said unto him, this is to Philip, Can there any good thing come out of Nazareth? Philip said unto him, Come and see. Now, I don't know what experience Nathanael had with those who came from Nazareth. Now, sometimes in life, you hear people, oftentimes, say the very same thing as Nathanael. A woman might have had bad relationships with evil and bad men who mistreated her. And she might say, all men are evil. Or she might have had a relationship with a man that's from a particular country, or a particular state, or a particular town. And because the man broke her heart, she say, all men from that country are evil. This is what Nathanael was saying. Nathanael might have had a bad experience. Someone might have done him something that came from Nazareth. And to him, there was no good thing that could come out of Nazareth. Nothing good. Oftentimes people say, I never go back to that church because there could be nothing good in that church. I could never go back to those people because there's nothing good there. Because of the experience that they might have had with one or two persons that were negative. You know what that is called? It's called change blindness. On our thinking, we think that because we have had a negative experience, we're blind to the fact that not everybody could be like that, could be bad. But blindness, change blindness, we cannot change our view to see that not every man or every woman or every person from this particular country or place are bad. And so people do it with race, and this is why you have racism, classism, all kind of different ism, because people might have had a bad experience with one person of a particular race, and all people of that race they now brand as bad. It's called change blindness. And this is something that happens every single day. Now, researchers demonstrated this, and we are going to look at the video. How you can have one individual having an encounter with someone, and there's another person that comes in the picture, and they don't realize it's a total different person that they're talking to. And oftentimes people, in their thinking, they can think that in dealing with someone else that they have not had any encounter with, no encounter, that is the same person that they had a past experience with, and they now deal with this new person just the same as they dealt with someone in the past that gave them a bad experience, and sometimes it could be a good experience. And so what happens? Someone might say, I like people from this country because I went to this country and I was treated good by these individuals from that country. But it doesn't mean everybody from the country is good, and it doesn't mean everybody is bad. But some people cannot change their view, and as I said, it's called change blindness. We look.
Watch what happens as the unsuspecting pedestrian provides directions. The young man on the left is one of the experimenters. He has approached the white-haired man and asked for directions. Watch closely as two people carrying a door pass between them, and the first experimenter is replaced by someone else. Like many of the people in this study, the pedestrian was entirely unaware that he was talking to a different person. Approximately 50% of the people approached in this study didn't notice when the person they were talking to was replaced by someone else. This study was among the first to demonstrate that change blindness can occur outside of the laboratory.
So you know what they're saying? Change blindness, this is not even something that's in a lab or something that's in a closed area. This is dealing with public. 50% of the people in the survey did not realize that they were talking to another human being. They didn't know. No. This happens to people all the time. They're dealing with one set of people, and in dealing with that set of people, they might have had a bad experience, as we said before. And their mind is stuck. It's called change blindness. They don't realize it's someone else that they're talking to. And as we said before, you've had people that have had bad experiences. So let's say there's a man going to a church, a particular church, and he is in a relationship with a lady in the church, and there's a bad experience with that lady. Some people will say some men will state all women in that church are evil. It's called change blindness. They can't see that the person who did them harm is not someone else. They can't change their focus, their thinking, and this happens to so many people. And the thinking affects our behavior, and our behavior shapes our memory. And because it shapes our memory, we remember the bad that happened to us, and we can't change, and we become blind in our thinking. So it's a cycle. Bad thoughts or bad thinking, bad memories. Bad memories, bad thinking, bad behavior. So you see the cycle. Now we continue. This is why Nathanael said, can there be anything good come out of Nazareth? People are expressing the same sentiment every single day. Whether it be race, whether it be all manner of other things, people say the same thing. And now, one of the things too, that sometimes too people are forming a relationship. You might have friends who are forming a relationship, just friendship. And someone can say, you know, you can't talk to people from that country or from that race. There's nothing good that comes from those people. It's called change blindness. It's a distorted way of thinking. And this is why the Lord tells us, judge not, that he be not judged. We're not, human beings are so unable to judge properly. Just look at the experiment that they did with the hot tea or the hot coffee and the cold coffee. What it did to the people's mind. Those that held the hot coffee felt that the character that they read about was warm and tender. Those that held the cold coffee read the same story but felt that the person was cold and unfeeling just by the cup that they held in their hand. And some people have gone through more than that. They have gone through years of experience. And so the Lord is telling us, do not judge. Now, in continuing, inspiration states the following. Timely Greetings, Volume 1, number 22, page 22. And now, let us pray that God help us not to, you see these words highlighted in purple, help us not to judge others, not to look for faults, not to make mountains out of molehills, and not to criticize, not to set yourselves up as criterions. You're not a criterion for anyone. We are not to judge others. We're not to find faults. We're not to make a mountain out of a molehill. We're not to criticize, and we're not to set up ourselves as criterions for anyone. Now listen, a lot of people want to study the charts, want to gain knowledge, but people do these things and think they're going to be saved. Knowledge cannot save you. Let's say you're going somewhere and you need directions how to get there. That's what the charts will do. The knowledge can tell you that, listen, this is where we've reached. It's like a GPS, and you have this further to go. But the destination that you're heading to, you need an invitation to go in. So you can know the charts to get you to where you have to go. But it's the character that's going to get you in, the wedding garment. And this is what you will have to do. Don't find yourself judging other people. Don't look for their faults. Don't try to criticize. And don't set up yourself as a standard. Let us pray that we may know that God has called us to teach the truth, not to whip people into it. No more than to drive them out of it. And we can drive people out of it. God has asked each one to be watchman only of his own deeds. You see this? God in heaven, the great God, has asked each one of us to be watchman only of his own deeds. Do you know what? You have people looking for gossip every day to publish it. And inspiration is telling us how we identify God's people. These are their works, their deeds. If we do this, that's be watchmen over our own selves. If we do this, we will have our hands full. No room for more. Because you know what? We are full of problems ourselves. And we need to fix our own selves instead of trying to fix someone else. We need to criticize our own self. We need to be criterions on our own self. We need to judge our own selves. We need to whip our own selves. That's what inspiration is telling us that we need to do. So because we're not doing what the Lord wants us to do, we have bad memory because we have bad thinking. And we have bad thinking and we get bad memories. Inspiration continues. Timely Greetings, Volume 1, number 4, page 25 over to 26. It states, do not make yourself a criterion for any either, and do not force your ideas on anyone but on yourselves. Now, you know, people have all kinds of ideas. People eat certain kinds of things. They have their own health practice, and they try to force it on other people. People dress a certain way. They talk a certain way. They behave a certain way. And guess what they're doing? They're trying to force their ideas on other people. It is no one's duty to police another. Understand that no one is in debt to bring his life to anyone's standards and maximums. Hear what inspiration says. Who art thou? God is asking, who do you think you really are? This is God asking us, who in the world do you think you are to be judging somebody else? To be judged that thou judgest another man's servant. To his own master he standeth or falleth. Yea, he shall be holding up, for God is able to make him stand. Romans 14 verse 4. But since you are not able to, then why try? Who can we save? Do not make enemies by your tongues. Make friends. And do not have your feelings on your fingertips. You don't get your way. Things don't go as you plan. People don't do what you want. People don't agree with you. Then you get your feelings hurt. If you do, you yourself will feel the loss of friends, of social joy, and of the opportunity and privilege to win souls to Christ. Do not end the day with no credit to be recorded on your page of heaven's ledger. Do not misinterpret other people's motives either. You see this? Misunderstanding. This is what the disciples taught. When Christ said to them, be careful of the leaven of the Sadducees and the Pharisees, they thought Christ was talking about bread. They misinterpreted what he meant. Do not misinterpret other people's motives either. Try to see and interpret everything in the right way. Give everyone a chance. See the good in everyone and close your eyes to all evil. These are the things that are going to save us. And all the knowledge, if we're not doing these things, we cannot enter into the city of God. Because if God takes us in the heavenly kingdom, we are going to go in there and question and criticize Gabriel. We're going to question and criticize God. We're going to question and criticize all different type of things, because that's our thinking right here on earth. This is how we behave. This is why Christ said, is it the things that come out of a man that defile him? In Timely Greetings, Volume 1, number 4, page 25, we continue. You are aware of the fact that we are given a great work and that the time in which to do it is very short, that we should therefore learn how to turn wasted time into good use. Someone has said that on the average, more than half of men's life and energy are wasted on useless talking and in policing others. More than half of people's life, Some people. One of the greatest needs, therefore, is that we learn to control our tongues and to keep our noses out of other people's business in order to conserve time and energy, peace and integrity. And how could we go in God's kingdom if we don't have integrity? How could we go in God's kingdom if we don't have peace? Great peace of they which love thy law, the psalmist told us, and nothing shall offend them. How can we go in God's kingdom if we don't have energy to do the right? And how could we make it in God's kingdom if we're using our time to gossip, to backbite, to criticize? So our memory is shaped by our thinking, and our thinking form our memory. We continue. Timely Greetings, Volume 2, number 46, page 45. The informed and discerning will spot such false brethren in their midst. How they spot them? They will close their ears to all who in one way or another seek to reprobate truth's cause today. You see, gossipers sending story, fighting the truth for today, not for yesterday, the truth for today. They will not listen to gossip. The God-fearing individual, the informed and discerning, they will not listen to gossip. They will be confident that God is at the head of the work and that He Himself is attending to His business. They will know that all who remain in the pits of falsehood, these are the gossipers, and unrighteousness, will finally go into the bottomless pit of perdition. You know what these people do? The informed and discerning? They will avoid negative energy. They will know how and see clearly negative people, because these people are a light to the world. Now let's look at this video.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into an important topic: how to avoid toxic people. We all encounter them at work, in friendships, and sometimes even within family. But learning how to protect your energy and set boundaries is one of the healthiest skills you can build. By the end of this video, you'll know how to recognize toxic behaviors, protect your mental space, and create healthier connections in your life. All right, first things first. How do you even know if someone's toxic? It's not always obvious at the beginning. In fact, a lot of toxic people can be really charming at first, but over time, little things start to show up. Maybe they always put you down with jokes that don't feel funny, or everything has to be about them all the time, or they try to make you feel guilty when you don't do what they want. Sometimes you just notice that every time you leave them, you feel exhausted. A simple test is, do I feel lighter or heavier after spending time with this person? If it's always heavier, that's your sign. Now, here's something important. Their behavior usually says more about them than it does about you. A lot of toxic people act that way because they're insecure, they need control, or they just haven't dealt with their own issues. That doesn't mean you have to excuse it, but it helps to remember it's not your fault. So instead of thinking, what's wrong with me, shift it to, wow, this is how they choose to behave, and I don't have to take it on. So what do you do once you spot the behavior? Boundaries. Boundaries don't have to be aggressive or mean. They're just your way of saying, this is okay with me and this isn't. That might look like saying no when they try to drag you into drama, cutting down how much time you spend with them, or keeping conversations surface level instead of opening up deeply. Remember, you don't have to give everyone unlimited access to your time and energy. Of course, sometimes you can't fully avoid them. Maybe they're a coworker or even a family member. In those cases, you focus on protecting your energy. Here are a couple of tricks. Don't feed the drama. Keep your responses short and calm. Don't argue endlessly. Toxic people love pulling you into circles. Some people use what's called the gray rock method. Basically, be boring and unreactive so they don't get a reaction from you. The calmer you stay, the less power they have over you. And here's the other side of it. Don't just avoid the bad. Go toward the good. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, who celebrate your wins, and who respect your boundaries. You should feel safe, supported, and energized around your people. That's how you know they're the right ones to keep close. So, quick recap, spot the toxic traits, remember it's not about you, set boundaries and protect your energy, and lean into healthier, positive relationships. At the end of the day, you can't always control who crosses your path, but you can control who you give your energy to. If this was helpful, hit the like button, share it with someone who might need it, and don't forget to subscribe for more chats on personal growth and mental wellness. Take care of yourself. You deserve peace and good people in your life.
No. Negative people with evil thinking harbor bad memories. Now, this is what we're told by inspiration in volume 2 of the Symbolic Code number 10, page 14. It pains me to say that there are unruly tongues among church members. There are false tongues that feed on mischief. There are sly, whispering tongues. There's tattling, impertinent meddling, adroit quizzing among the lovers of gossip. Some are actuated by curiosity, others by jealousy, many by hatred against those through whom God has spoken to reprove them. All these discordant elements are at work. Some conceal their real sentiments, while others are eager to publish all they know, even in sending out publications, publications to gossip, to give news story, all of it is of the devil, or even suspect of evil against another. I saw that the very spirit of perjury that would turn truth into falsehood, good into evil, and innocence into crime is now active. Satan exalts over the condition of God's professed people. While many are neglecting their own souls, they eagerly watch for an opportunity to criticize and condemn others. Some people, they themselves are deficient. Their children are deficient. Their whole life is deficient. And they're watching other people before they turn the spotlight onto themselves and fix themselves. No, says these self-constituted judges, we have facts. We will fasten upon them an accusation from which they cannot clear themselves. They wait for a fitting opportunity and then produce their bundle of gossip and bring forth their tidbits, and it's all gossip and lies. And you know what? When these people attack and criticize others, they don't realize that they're doing a work for Satan. Now, sometimes in life too, people criticize others and what they're saying might be true. Someone might have gotten pregnant out of wedlock. They might have committed adultery. They might have had an abortion. They might have done things that they were sorry that they did. And they could ask God for forgiveness. But people know about their mistakes and put them down. And inspiration is telling us, God is talking to us, God's people, not the branches that seek to attach themselves to God's cause but are not converted. God is saying to his people, do not judge. Do not put down other people. Watch yourself. Timely Greetings, Volume 1, number 24 on page 10. Inspiration states, let us pray for the grace of Christ to enable us to treat others as we would have them treat us, rather than to keep ourselves in sin by finding fault with their practice of religion. To watch our own steps is all we can do. That is what God is telling us. Now, most people, when they study the message of present truth, they want to study charts and prophecies and signs and numbers. And inspiration is saying the message came to form a people that are like Christ. They're saviors. All the charts and these things is to show us where we are and where we're going. But it's the character that's going to save us. Most people mistake what's going to save them. They think that knowledge is going to save them. If knowledge could save, Satan would be saved. Because none of us is as knowledgeable as Satan is. But the knowledge cannot save him. Because he has not the character of God. And that's what we have to have. And inspiration says, we have to watch our own steps. No. People like slander, they like gossip. People play mind games with other people. People seeking to control and dictate to others. People telling others what they should do with their lives, etc., etc., etc. Some people, they want to go into people's private family matters. They're bent to go in it. They make phone calls, they dig, they search, and they're trying to get as much information as they possibly can about someone. Why? You know why? They're not God's people. These are people walking with a sign above their head. When you see people doing these things, stating clearly that I am not a child of God, I'm a child of Satan. That's what they're saying. People are concerned about people's financial business. They want to know. People want to get into people's sex lives. People want to know which day people are having sex on, which day they should not be having sex, what they do in their marital bedroom. All these things, when you see people doing these things, you know that they are not led of the Spirit. Because God has told us over and over, leave people alone. The most you can do, you share what is written, you leave it alone. Beyond that, you're not going. If you're doing anything more, you're trying to control and dictate to people. People are doing these things every day and they don't realize that they're going to be lost. People are trying to find out why someone is wearing that. Why are they wearing this or why are they wearing that? Don't they know they shouldn't wear that? What are they eating? Why are they eating that? This is why inspiration asks us, who are we? Who art thou, O thou man, that thou judgest? People want to find out where people work and how much money they get paid. People want to find out whom they intend to get married to, who this person wants to get married to. People are telling people whom they should really get married to. Listen, God is telling us as present truth believers, we can know if we're going to be saved. The fact that we have gone so far to be gossiping and trying to get into people's lives, if we were in the kingdom, even if the Lord brought us to heaven, we would want to get into God's business. We would want to get into his private business. People want to know what's the latest news about somebody's life. They want to know what's the latest bad news or juicy gossip going around town. People want to tell people how they should live their lives. All these traits shows you that our thinking is off. And if we have this mindset, for some of us, we cannot change and we cannot be saved. God is telling us, back off. But only God knows if we're going to listen. Because we believe if we have knowledge, it's going to save us. So all the other bad we can do, if we have knowledge of charts and all these things. But the Lord is telling us, we are not going to be saved. Many people have gone into even married people's lives, telling them what they should be doing in their privacy of their bedroom. How did we get so low and degrading as a people? But you know what inspiration is telling us? Our thinking. For as he, a man or a woman, thinking in his or her heart, so is he or she. Our thinking comes out in our action. And our action forms our memory. And we live our life based on what we did yesterday and the day before. So it's a cycle. It's a cycle. But the true converted real Davidian who has on the wedding garment, it says, he's aware that God's kingdom is made up of mature Christians, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing. He, this is a converted Christian, never, this word never, he therefore never wastes his time looking for specks or beams in another's eye. Matthew 7, verse 1 through to 5. If anything, he searches to see that there is nothing in his own eye. He knows that God has not made him a judge of his people or a corrector of heretics. No, you know what? People even take their time to be writing newsletter with gossip, calling people with bad about other people as much as they can find. Any bad news they get, God is saying to his real people, you see the character of those people? You know they don't belong to me. He does what truth says. This is the converted Christian, the real Davidian. And those who wish to fall in line may do so, but he never tries to push them over to his side. Sincerely yours, in faith and good courage, V.T. Houtif, Certificate of Fellowship Letter, page 5. And that's the real converted Christian. He never wastes his time. So our memory forms our thinking. And one of the things that we're going to look at to show you the reason why we can't judge. Now we're going to look at a video. And I want you to look at it very, very carefully, what we're about to watch. And it will demonstrate to us that oftentimes what we think we see and understand is not the truth, not the reality. But we condemn other people, we put labels on them, we judge them, and we're wrong. And even when we're told we're wrong, we still hold on to our assumptions. But you know what God is saying? A real converted Christian does not behave in that manner. No way. Let's watch.
Watch this brief video of a conversation, and then I'll ask you some questions about it.
Hi, Sabina.
Hi.
Well, it's been a long time since I've seen you.
Yeah, it's great to see you, Andrea.
So how did you get here?
I took the subway from Middleton, and it took only about half an hour.
Really? I drove from Gresham, and it took 45 minutes.
Hooray for public transportation.
So why did you call me here for this mysterious meeting?
I'm planning a surprise party for Jerome, and I need your help to keep him away from the house.
That's great. I'll do anything you need.
Good.
I hate surprise parties, but only when I'm the victim. Otherwise, they're great.
Very good.
Other than the strange dialogue about a surprise party, did you notice anything unusual? In our book, The Invisible Gorilla and Other Ways Our Intuitions Deceive Us, we discuss the illusion of memory. We think we perceive and remember more of our world than we actually do. The movie you just watched had 9 intentional editing mistakes. Did you spot any of them? Watch it again. Notice that the woman on the right, Sabrina, is wearing a scarf. In a moment we'll have a close-up and the scarf will be gone. Notice the scarf is gone and Andrea, the woman on the left, has her arm on the table. Now it's at her chin. Scarf is back. Notice that the plates are red. Now they're white and Andrea's arm is back on the table. Now they're red and Sabrina's arm is off of the table. Notice that the food is in front of Sabrina. Now it's in front of Andrea. The cups and the spoon have also switched places, and Sabrina's arm is on the table when it wasn't before. Most people don't notice any of the changes, a phenomenon known as change blindness. But most people are confident that they would notice the changes. That is the illusion of memory.
So you know what? Sometimes our memory is distorted. We think we have the facts and we don't. We think we see clearly, but we don't. And these are just small demonstrations why the Lord is telling us that we have to be careful how we judge. Because oftentimes what we think we see and understand, that's not the case. And in the book of Matthew chapter 7, verse 1 through to 4, we read the following. Christ says, "Judge not, that ye be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye mete, it shall be measured to you again." And why? Christ is saying, why even go through that strenuous effort? And why beholdest the mote that is in thy brother's eye, and considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye? Or how? This is Christ speaking now. Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye? This is what Christ is saying. How could we, human beings, be so filled with faults, failing, and problem, seek to be going around to fix other people when we ourselves need to be fixed? We have a beam in our eye, and we're telling someone else, I judge that you have a dirty eye. Come here to me and know that it is my duty to fix it. And we have a beam in our eye. And Christ is saying, why would we even go attempt to do these things? To God, it doesn't make no sense. We are so defective and we are trying to fix other people. And Inspiration says this, Timely Greetings, Volume 1, number 7, page 13. We, this is God's people, need, this is not a want, we need to mind our God-given business and keep our noses out of other people's business. Only when we have done all we can to comply with the requirements of the message for today, not of yesterday, shall we be sealed and stand with the Lamb on Mount Zion. If we don't do these things, forget Mount Zion with the Lamb. Forget it. And we every day are trying to tell people what we think inspiration say they should do. If God can't get someone to do something, how are we going to get them to do it? And if God is not ready for someone to do something as yet, how are we going to get them to do it? This is what God is trying to get us to understand. If God cannot save someone, how are we going to save them? How are we going to save them? Who can we save? We are just sinful human beings, and here God is telling us that we have to leave people alone. Constantly, Satan has deceived us to think that it's our duty to get into people's business. People has even gone so far as to gone in people's bedroom, asking people what they should do and what they're doing. How have we fallen so low? We continue. Timely Greetings, Volume 1, number 23, page 2. Satan is doing his level best to make us transgress in this respect, so that we lose out eternally. God has delegated no one to be policing another. God has not delegated no human being to be telling another human being what to do with their life. This is why we advocate religious liberty. Only God, through his prophets, is to reprove sin, but never to use force of any kind. Shall we kneel now and pray for a realization that our duty is not to criticize others or to magnify their faults, but to speak and practice the truth? Further than that, brother, sister, we need not go. The rest is up to our audiences and associates. Let them decide for themselves what is best for both soul and body. Truth need not be poked down the throat. So you can see, whenever you see people pushing and forcing and inquiring and prying, you know that they're not led of the Spirit. Because here inspiration makes it known only his prophets he has authorized to be reproving. And some people love to reprove others. They love to point out people's faults and sins. We continue. And so, what is right thinking? Let's go to inspiration. In Symbolic Code Volume 2, number 7 and 8, page 12, inspiration says, can you hear friends saying nice things about you and yet not look too smart, nor talk too wise? Can you hold the esteem of your friends after gaining it? Can you walk with the great men of earth and remember not to forget the lowly child, Jesus of Bethlehem? Can you live in this fault-finding and backbiting generation and not talk about your neighbor? Can you remain the same when your brethren are slandering you both by tongue and by pen? Can you be driven from the church that you love more than your life and close the door for the last time with a sweet smile and a gentle goodbye? Can you have your very heart crushed by your superior and yet love and thank him for his kindness? If you can, my brother, or I'd say my sister, you are the man or the woman for the hour. And if you can live in this fault-finding and backbiting generation and not talk one word about your neighbor, know of a certainty you have no guile in your mouth. And so, our thinking forms our memory. Now we're going to read quickly a survey on our thoughts. Change your thinking and you change your life. If we change the way how we think, it will change the way how we behave. And as we behave day by day in a better way, we will have good memories. Research across psychology, neuroscience, and behavioral science consistently shows that patterns of thinking play a major role in shaping behavior, emotional regulation, health outcomes, and long-term life trajectories. While the phrase change your thinking, change your life, a substantial body of empirical evidence explains how and why this relationship works. Change your thinking, you change your life. Cognition precedes behavior. In cognitive psychology, thoughts are understood as antecedents to behavior. Cognitive behavioral models demonstrate that beliefs and interpretations strongly influence emotional responses and subsequent actions. Individuals do not react directly to events themselves. So somebody can say something to someone. They could have taken up something from off a table. So individuals do not react directly to events themselves, but to their appraisal of those events. Sometimes someone does something and someone else is looking at what that individual did, and they come up with their own appraisal as to why the person did it. Sometimes, you know what the person did, they didn't even mean anything what the other person came up, the conclusion they came to. Someone can say, I know why you drove your car around the back. I know why you were over that house. And you might say, why was I over that house? You went in there because you were having an affair. Or you went in there for this. And the person is saying, why would you come up with those conclusions? It is judging. And people, they react to how they feel some event means. We continue. Neuroscience has established that the brain remains plastic throughout adulthood. Repeated thought patterns strengthen specific neutral pathways, making certain interpretations and reactions more automatic over time. So people will constantly do, if they do something, it's a repetition, and they do it, and you know what? They become like that. This phenomenon, known as experience-dependent neuroplasticity, explains why habitual thinking styles tend to reinforce themselves. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Research on mindfulness, cognitive restructuring, and metacognitive awareness shows that deliberate attention to thought patterns can alter neutral activity in regions associated with emotional regulation, decision making, and stress response. We have to train our mindset if we want to be better individual. In practical terms, sustained changes in thinking can lead to measurable changes in brain function and behavior. So if we start day by day, moment by moment, to say, you know what, I'm going to think right, I'm going to speak right. We're not going to get it all at once, But as we start to practice, day by day, we might make mistakes. But you know what? We're going to get better at it. And the brain is going to stretch and change to fit our new mode of thinking. Likewise, if we don't want to change, we're going to become worse and worse. Now, we're going to watch a video. And the video we're going to watch, it talks about crows, birds. And these birds are considered some of the smartest birds on planet Earth. They can detect or remember events long after it has occurred. And they're known to pass on information to their descendants or other birds, even when those birds were not born. So if they had a negative experience, they can transmit the information to their offsprings. So if someone did them harm or bad, they can pass on information about that person. No, we continue.
John Marsloff went undercover to test the birds' reactions to being caught and tagged.
When we first captured birds, we were wearing this mask. So the birds that were immobile under a net saw this person coming to them, grabbing them, stretching their wings out to measure them, applying rings to their legs to identify them, and then letting them go.
Crows don't like being caught, even when they're unharmed. So the question was, would they remember that the masked man was a threat? A few days after the initial tagging, Marzluff walked across the campus again. He kept the mask on, but he left the crows alone to see if he'd get any response.
It was very striking. The first time after we did this experiment and we walked with the caveman mask, birds immediately responded to that. They scolded with harsh calls that are indicative of a predator. And they gathered around us, they attracted others in, and they would even dive down at us.
Marzluff discovered that the crows were somehow telling each other that the person in the caveman mask was dangerous. And what's more amazing, even though the team never again caught crows with the mask on, that reaction has been passed down through several generations.
It's been 11 years since we caught 7 birds on our campus with this mask, and nearly half of all the birds we encounter on a given day respond strongly to that face. Even though they weren't even born at the time we first did our capture, the only experience they have with that caveman is hearsay.
No. You see what happens? The birds, some of their offspring was not even born. So when you have bad thinking, bad behavior, bad memories, that's the memories you share with your children. That's the way you talk in the house about other people. So if birds can remember and pass on information about a negative experience they had with this person, even 11 years after, and some of those birds were not born, it tells us that when we're negative, our thoughts are negative, our memories are negative, we pass the same thing on to others, even people that were not around. So you have good memories and you have bad memories. Now it depends on us. And some people, they hang bad memories on the wall as if it's something as a trophy to look back on. Sometimes as they're having a conversation with someone, they start to talk about the negative experience that they've had with this person over and over again. It's like having a picture on a wall, and you look at the picture and you just keep putting it on the wall and you keep going over memories all with bad memories. But some people, as inspiration is telling us, and we're at volume 4 of Symbolic Code, number 4-9, page 11. Inspiration says, found memories, sweetly blended, glorious scenes we'll never forget, linger in our memory yet. All days of sadness seem to perish as we recall the scenes we cherish. This is what our memory should occupy. So you can talk about all of the many joys were ours, of all the happy golden hours that we have spent this year. These are the ones we hold most dear. They thrill us so that we desire other souls thus to inspire. And can you imagine if we have this thought, just look back at what the year has brought. Not the negative, but the good things, the joy, the happy times. Hang those memories in your mind, on the wall of your mind. Think about them, speak about them, not the bad and negative things. And some people, they delight to only talk about the bad. And their tongue utter nothing but gossip, lie, and anger. But our tongue should utter the blessed hope. Speak good, kind words, not words to cause a fire. And here inspiration tells us in volume 3 of the Symbolic Code, number 11 and 12, page 4. Firstly, we're learning to use our mother tongue correctly. And secondly, we are weeding out of our language those soul destroying. You hear inspiration is going to tell us now what is going to destroy our soul. soul-destroying words and phrases which lead us insidiously into that wicked thing called gossip. And so even birds, the crows, knew how to identify someone that was bad. But Christians cannot identify people who come to them with bad energy, gossip, lies, slander, backbiting, criticizing. How is it that birds, the dumb creatures, can see and remember and teach their offspring about someone that did bad, but we cannot? And inspiration is saying the wicked thing called gossip is going to destroy people. We as candidates for the 144,000 are encouraged, therefore, with the possibility of becoming saints without guile in our mouths. With this sweet prospect before us, why should not every present true believer determine to overcome every besetment and receive the seal of God and reflect the image of Jesus fully? Question sign. Why don't we do it? And we continue. Identity governs our behavior. We go back to research. People act in alignment with who they believe they are. People believe that they should carry news. They will carry news. That's who they believe they are. People believe that they're striving to be saved. That's who they believe they are. That's what they're going to do. And durable change occurs when self-conception changes, not when motivation spikes temporarily. We can listen to the study and we have a temporary desire to change, but we revert to our same behavior. But if we are determined and we believe that God is talking to us, we can start step by step. Small improvements in thinking compound over time, producing large differences in outcomes, while circumstances and genetics impose limits, because some people, bad behavior is in their genes. Their parents was like that. The community that they came from was like that. Cognition remains one of the most powerful variables under individual control. People can strive and fight. Cognitive discipline. Monitor thoughts. You have to think about what you're thinking about. You have to know when people come to you where they're trying to lead your mind. Rejecting distortions and replacing them with evidence-based conclusions. The things that you're saying about such and such. What are the evidence that what you're saying is true? I'm not talking about what you think or what you believe. I'm talking about conclusive evidence. Did you caught the person? Did you see? Did they tell you? No, I think. That can't work. And you have to monitor your thoughts. Improves executive function and life outcomes. This mechanism is repeatedly validated in cognitive behavioral research. And as you monitor your thoughts, as you determine to shift, we can change and we can get right thinking. And what we have to do, anytime you see people are putting individuals down, putting you down, giving misinformation about you, having wrong understanding or wrong ideas about you, which you know is not correct, you have to take yourself away from that energy. You want to surround yourself with right thinking, first in yourself and with others. And we do not have time to be judging people. Who are we to be judging? What someone wears, what they eat, what they're doing. We talk and preach the truth and we leave people alone. Because you know what? At the end of the day, human beings are a wonderful creature created by God and they belong to God. In the book Psalm chapter 8, verse 3 over to verse 5, inspiration states the following. When I consider thy heavens, the work of thy fingers, the moon and the stars, which thou hast ordained, what is man that thou art mindful of him? God is mindful of human beings. And the Son of Man that thou visitest him. For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels. Thou hast crowned him with glory and honor. This is the psalmist David bringing out the fact that every human being that you see, God has a special plan for them. God has esteemed them. He created them. He took his time to do it. Who are we to be putting down another person's creation? Now, let me say this. Human beings are working very hard to create robots and to perfect their movements. But you know what? The creation of human beings is so special. And God holds each individual as so special. If we could know the value that God puts on humanity, we would shrink to be putting down another human being. Now, let's just see in miniature the work of man and what God has ordained man to be.
This is how your circulatory system looks when everything else is removed. What remains is a living network of over 100,000 kilometers of blood vessels, reaching every corner of your body. At its center, your heart beats about 100,000 times a day, pushing blood fast enough to deliver oxygen to trillions of cells in seconds. Over an average lifetime, the heart beats more than 3 billion times without stopping. Each contraction generates enough pressure to drive blood through vessels so forceful they can spray several meters if cut. This system fuels every thought, movement, and breath, while silently removing waste and heat. This isn't just anatomy. It's the engine that keeps life in motion.
So you know what? The psalmist David stated the following in Psalm 139, verse 14. I will praise thee, which is God, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. We belong to God. Nobody owns another person. So why waste our time to watch people, dictate to people, trying to tell people what to do? We don't own people. We can just teach a truth and leave it as it is. We can't poke anything down people's throat. And so, good thinking would bring good memory. And good memory bring good thinking. Inspiration says the following. And this is just for emphasis. Do not make yourself a criterion for any, either. And do not force your ideas on anyone but on yourselves. It is no one's duty to police another. It is no one's duty to police another. Understand that no one is in debt to bring his life to anyone's standard and maxims. This is what inspiration is telling us. This fearful and wonderful creature called humanity, created by God himself. For God is able to make him stand. God can change people's mind. They can go to bed and they have a dream. God can do anything. We can't do that. And since we're not able to, why try? Why try to force people? But you know what? For the righteous, the memory of the just is blessed. The memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot. God's people know that they keep their eyes on God, and they pray for their brothers and sisters. We stop here, and may the Lord bless us and keep us and cause his face to shine upon us, and may he help us to get guile out of our mouths, lest we be lost eternally. Father in heaven, help us to overcome. Through Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Forever.